Hi, my name is Enrico Drago. I'm a writer, director, producer from Chapel, North Carolina. I made the film Grief, which is about a professional hitman. His Minecraft world gets blown up by a Twitch streamer, and it makes him go crazy. And he hunts down the streamer at all costs. XQC stream because he was the most popular guy streaming on that day, and then I put the stream that we filmed over top of his stream. So everything else is totally stolen from his stream on whatever day we stole it from. So all of those comments are real, and the recommended stuff is all real. Though I went in and inspected Element to change the titles and that sort of thing to fit the world, but the actual like capturing of the space, I spend a lot of time online, even if I don't like that I spend so much time online. So I feel like it's pretty good. I feel like people our age can kind of tell the difference between the real world and the internet world better than people younger than us and better than people older than us because we grew up with it. And we had some time before like high school or college where there was no internet, at least not as widespread. So we kind of got to grow up with it. And I think we see the differences a little better than uh, other ages. And so I think I don't know, they're two separate places. And I think capturing them as such was important to the film, and I feel like we did a pretty good job. I knew from the start that I wanted it to open in Minecraft, which is why I'd slam on my desk if this wasn't a professional environment. But when the Minecraft movie opens up with the loading screen and all that, I was real pissed off because it's exactly how Grief opens, and I knew that was always going to be the opening. I don't know. I really enjoy multiple formats. Like throughout my whole career, I've liked to pretend that I'm using a security camera or a webcam as part of the story, and I don't know. There was really no difference. I felt like it was the right story to tell. The internet allows you to be completely anonymous, even if your face and name are shown. In the case of the Cheese Planet, his face is out there. His real identity is pretty readily available. But he's not afraid to do anything online because he figures, nobody's going to do anything about it because he exists on the internet. And because of that, like, even if it's not exactly anonymity, the idea that you can hide behind the screen, I felt lended itself to a pretty over the top revenge story. And I don't know, I just, on paper, the idea of a professional hitman going and killing a kid because he blows up his Minecraft world, well, I thought that's like a really, I don't know. When I came up with that idea, I was like, man, I can't not write this. I'm also a big fan of Tim Robinson. I am 25 and you know, after all. And so I think you should leave kind of style. I really do like, and I wanted to make something that would not necessarily fit in that world, but I don't know, that would play to similar uh, comedic sensibilities. I don't know if I thought it was funny. If I think something's funny, I don't necessarily know where I'm going to go at that point. So let's strike that from the record. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. I think you should leave style. I wanted to do an add kind of action to it, just to see if it would work, and I think it did. Yeah, the putting the satirical spin on I don't know. I love action movies, but I think they're all kind of the same, and so I wanted to make fun of them in a polite and respectful way, and I figured this is a good way to do it. I think in this specific topic with the internet, I do think authenticity comes from actually using it. I think it wouldn't make sense for somebody who's in their 50s to make a movie about the internet impacting 20-year-olds when they were never impacted by the internet at 20 years old. I think it'd be totally different if, say, Martin Scorsese wanted to make a movie about how AI generated news content and that sort of thing impacts the older generation because he's 88 or however old he is. I think that would make perfect sense. But it wouldn't make sense for him to make a movie about how, the like AI Italian brain rot characters are impacting middle schoolers. I work as a substitute teacher, to pay the bills. And my very first job was at middle school, and they were all doing the tralalero, tralala, that sort of character. Um, there's no way in hell that even a younger filmmaker like Paul Thomas Anderson would have any idea what to do with that. And so I think that authenticity comes from, those Minecraft YouTube I grew up with that, um, I don't, a lot of those old YouTubers I grew up watching, I grew up adoring. So that world is really something that I know. And I think that that's, I mean, to anything, I think you'd be shocked. You know, the question, what do you think creates authenticity in film when tackling a topic that can be uniquely different? I think while there are always going to be subtle differences, I don't necessarily know that the experience is as unique as people think. You know, there are a lot of people who grew up watching Captain Sparkles on YouTube or Smosh Games on YouTube. Um, you know, their relationship might be different, but the experience is similar. And I think, you know, kind of in general, if it's a lived experience of the filmmaker, you know, that they're making a movie about, they're going to find the authenticity. And I think I would never make a movie about, you know, the 2008 recession because I was 8 years old. Just the same way that I would hope, you know, Spielberg doesn't make a movie about TikTok because I just don't feel like I don't know, not to say they're not allowed to do that, but the authenticity I think comes from genuinely tackling something that you've lived, and I think that's the case for pretty much anything. Most intimidating is without a doubt writing. It's the part that I feel like the filmmaker is the most. If you're whether or not you're also if you're writing a movie and you go on to direct and produce and do everything else for it, or if you're just writing the script, it's the part of the process that you are the most critical of because you are reading it constantly. It's the most intimidating. And you know, the old scariest thing is, you know, the scariest thing is the blank page. I feel like that's totally accurate. The amount of times that I have had ideas that I'm like certain are winners in my head, and then struggle with uh, translating from here to the screen, you know, here to the page, my brain to the page. I feel like that is by far the most intimidating. And there are some times where I have ideas that I know are good, and then I'm writing them, and I'm like, oh, this sucks actually. Doesn't mean the idea sucks, or doesn't mean I'm not doing a good job changing it from my head to screen. And I don't know. I definitely, I enjoy writing, but it is certainly the most intimidating in the process. And then most rewarding for me is producing. You know, I love directing. I love setting up a shot. Uh, I like editing. I don't mind doing sound. I like all of it. You know, I went to film school, so I love the whole process. But by far the most rewarding is producing. I've said several times off the record, and I'll say it on the record, that I get just as much gratification and just as much joy from helping other people direct their movies. You know, giving them the opportunity to uh, make the projects that they want to make, and allowing filmmakers who maybe otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity um, to have the opportunity to make their film. Last year, I made an anthology called Channel 9, and the premise of that was I reached out to 9 of my friends who I knew were, you know, in between jobs or in between projects, and we set up like every filmmaker had their own block of television programming. And so, you know, we had somebody do a children's program, somebody did like a Richard Simmons fitness project, the news and all this. And that's the most rewarding project I've ever been a part of. And I think it's because of how many um, opportunities I opened up for other filmmakers. I don't know. You know, I'm a struggling filmmaker. And so to be able to help other struggling filmmakers, I think is really just so rewarding. I would do that for my whole career if I could. I have a complicated relationship with filmmaking. Every once in a while, I've wanted to do it since I was 8 years old. My dad took me to go see Indiana Jones and the King of the Crystal Skull 5 days in a row. And I remember the second time we walked out, I was like, I could do that. Um, Meaning be Indiana Jones. And then by the fifth time, I realized, oh, he's not real, but I can make a movie about it. And that kind of led me to realize, oh, you know, if I want to go to outer space, you know, maybe I don't need to be an astronaut. Maybe I could just make a movie that takes place in outer space. If I want to be the president, maybe I don't need to join politics. I don't need to get into politics. I can make a movie about a politician. And so that's been my relationship with filmmaking, the origins. And then in high school, it became kind of I like to hang out with my friends and make a movie. And that kind of continued through college. I feel like it's a productive way to hang out and have fun. And that kind of mentality has sort of framed every movie I've made. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you're making a movie, you know, nobody's on the operating table. You know, it's not life or death. You should be doing it with your friends or people who you at least get along with, and having that positive environment, I think, is key. So my relationship with filmmaking, that's all positive, but it's also one of the hardest industries in the world to break into, if not the hardest in the country at least. Um, I've been graduated from school for 3, 4 years now, from film school. Shout out SCAD. And I have, yet to sign a 9 picture deal with Universal, like Spielberg did at my age. Channel 9, that project I mentioned, was my first feature film, and it had to be outsourced to make it. Sean Baker, who just won Best Director, said, you should try and make a feature film by the time you turn 25. Well, I'm 25 now. And so this, like, the crushing weight of, all of these phenoms who've come before, and the idea that there are some filmmakers who don't make their big break until they're in their 40s or 50s, is quite frightening, and very stressful. But I don't know. I love it. Anytime I'm like, you know what, it's time to get a real job, I don't. And I continue trying to make it as a filmmaker. So I love it, even if it is a little bit of a toxic relationship. I can't imagine doing anything else. There's a classic Stephen King quote. He was asked, why do you make horror? Why do you write horror? And his response is, what makes you think I have a choice? And that's kind of my, why are you a filmmaker? Well, what makes you think I have a choice? In Grief, we filmed that in my old high school. That's my alma mater. And so the scene where King Cobra, the hitman, chokes out the janitor, I'm playing the janitor in that. So that was like a lot of fun to not just be back in my high school, but to show, one of my closest friends from college, where I grew up, and kind of get to relive the kids that I cast as the high schoolers are all real friends in real life. So to kind of bring that love and that community from when I was in high school, back to the high school, was really kind of a nice full circle moment. Um, I don't know, just a lot of fun. That whole film was a lot of fun. Well, as an aspiring filmmaker who's trying to enter the industry, a lot of filmmakers give the advice, you just got to make a movie, you just got to do it. And for years and years and years, I was like, that's the worst advice of all time. That's like such a cop out. But now that I'm a little older, and I've made a fair amount of short films that have been moderately successful or minimally successful, um, it is the truth. You just have to do it. If you want to be a filmmaker, nobody ever became a filmmaker by sitting on their ass watching movies, thinking about making them. Um, Even Quentin Tarantino, who, his inspiration was sitting around watching movies, working at a video store. Eventually, he wrote a movie and sold it, and then eventually he got to make his debut, with Reservoir Dogs. And I feel like that's really the only answer, is you have to just get up and do it. I've had this, I have a little whiteboard, and I put little affirmations on there every morning, but I've had get up and go on there for years now. And that's the truth, just get up and go. If you want to make a movie, nobody's going to make it for you. So go and do it. No matter how hard you think it is, no matter how expensive it may be, there's a way to do it cheap. There's a way to do it easy. Nothing should stop you from, if you got a story you want to tell that story. I mean, it's as simple as that. Nobody else can do it for you. They can help, but the project is called The Big Hole. You can follow that on Instagram, The Big Hole Film. It's about a guy who digs a big hole in his backyard. I'm very excited for it. I think you will be too. Yeah, that's it. I've lived in North Carolina my whole life, except for college and post-college, and now I'm back. It's nice to see the North Carolina film industry kind of growing back. It's nice to be a part of it. So thank you guys so much.